What is everybody, welcome back to another video, and today will be a tutorial on how to remix any song into lo-fi in Bandlab. So this isn't going to be an in-depth tutorial on like a process. I'll just be showcasing some of my remixes and just like show them what I made them, what properties you need, like, and maybe also a deep rundown of the Bandlab interface, and as well as like what are the parts into making a lo-fi remix. This isn't how to make a lo-fi song, it's just how to remix any song. So there's two types that I do, and this is the first one, and the example we'll be using is my Let Us Adore You lo-fi remix, which is one of my most famous, if not my most famous remix on this channel yet. So yeah, here's what it sounds like. Okay, so the only real thing of afoot here is the drums, right? So for drums, I just used virtual instrument and I used abstract hip hop, and this is the pattern that I chose, right? So when you're making a drum loop, it's, well, first off, when you're making a drum loop, to make it easy, just make 4 measures, just like basically repeat a loop or repeat a pattern 4 times. So here's the first pattern. So this part, right? This part right here, like this first measure, right? Yeah, this first part, right, is repeated 4 times in 1 measure, and I just looped out throughout the entire song. And this is basically my main drum loop, right? And now when you're making this type of remix, it's actually doesn't really work for every song, because obviously there are some songs that just don't work well into a lo-fi remix. You can't just add drums to a certain song and make it sound good. So there's also that variety or variable of making a song choice, and not all songs work into that category. So when you're trying to pick out a song, so first ask yourself or listen to the song itself, is does it have a lot of drums? Does it have powerful drums? As you can see here in Let Us Adore You, there's not that much drums. It's just some piano and some other melodies in the back. And next up, if you want to add some bass into it, right, just ask yourself, do you hear a powerful bass? And again, we don't really hear that as much in the song, right? So now when you are fighting a song, find out all of those qualities first, and etc, and then boom, make a simple drum loop. The drum loop doesn't really have to be that complex, it's just something to uplift yourself into the song. And basically for this song, I just added the drum loops first, and maybe some of filtering with multi-filter, and after that I downloaded this file and headed to another project, which is over here, and this is where I added the filters. So as you can see, it is just a song with the drum loops from the previous project. And for filters, I only really use 3 main filters, and it's multi-filter, space maker, and any type of reverb that you want. For this song I used spring reverb, but now I just use studio reverb, I think it was called. Now what I like about multi-filter is that you can interchange the stuff, and you can interchange the music or the sound in between the notes. So in here I didn't really showcase this as much, but what you can do with multi-filter is that you can like animate or basically like filter out the song. Like however, like example at this area, I want the song to fade down a bit. So when I did this part, let's listen to it. It faded down. So yeah, that's basically what multi-filter does. It's a really cool tool, and I definitely suggest you to use it in your lo-fi songs. And that's pretty much it for this type of lo-fi remix. I'll hop on to the next one. Now on to another Steven Universe remix. It's the Love Like You remix, which of course full version of my channel shorts is already up on my shorts. So this is more complex than usual, right? And usually if you wanted to make this easier for yourself, you can just look up a MIDI and download said MIDI, right? And that makes it easier for you, because you already have a piano melody. You can just like change the instrument you want to use. But not all songs have a MIDI online that you can download, so it's the harder process, but you usually get a better payoff and better sounds than the first one, and that is of course just inputting the sounds yourself. Yes, this takes a long ass time, And yes, it requires a lot of patience, because if you do not know how to play the piano, like myself, you'd have to like play around with the MIDI editor a lot, right? But if you play piano and you have a MIDI keyboard, you can just like play the song, right? But of course, if you're a beginner musician like me and don't really much know about music theory a lot and counts and piano stuff, it's gonna be really, really hard. It just requires a lot of patience and trial and error on that end. So we're gonna have a look at 5 components here. Let's get started. So for the first part, which is the chords, okay, so for the verse, it has its own chords, and for the main like chorus part, it also has its own chords. Now for this, you can just look up the chords on Google and just input that into your project. There's not really much going onto there, and I'd say when you're making a lo-fi remix or a lo-fi song, chords is very, very important. It's the foundation of your melodies and basically like one of the main timings for your stuff. Now moving on to the next part, which is the bass. Now for the bass, it's really, really easy. I didn't really search up on Google like the bass line for Love Like You. What I basically just did is I just copied the chords onto the bass track and deleted all of the other chords and kept the root notes. So what the root note is basically these bottom notes that you see over here, and basically I just copied all of these into the bass track, right? And deleted all of these top notes, left the root notes, and lowered them down an octave to make them sound more bassy, right? Now, next part is I think the melody part, if I'm not mistaken. Yep, it's the melody. So for the melody, it's very simple. You can either just input the melody yourself or find a MIDI online that already has the melody inputted for you. So it's not really much going in depth into that. It's just really is the melody. And of course, lastly, the drums. So when making the drums, just do the same thing you did on the first part of the remix. Repeat it, loop it, bada bing, bada boom, boom. Now let's take a look at our final product. And that's pretty much it. That's pretty much how you make a lo-fi remix. And in terms of filters, I use the exact same thing as on the first type of remix. It's just multi-filter, spring reverb or studio reverb, and space maker. And aside from that, that's pretty much it. That is how you remix any song that you want on Bandlab and turn them into lo-fi, hip-hop. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Thank you so much for 100 subscribers. Make sure to like and subscribe. See you all in the next video. Goodbye.